Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today, we are going to dive into a really interesting topic, but before we get to that, please like, comment, and subscribe, and so you can, know when each podcast comes up. Today we have on Dr. Corinne Blanchard. She's going to be talking to us about CAIS, Complete Androgen Insensitivity Syndrome. So first off, I'd just like to thank Corinne for being here, and thank you for coming on the show. And first, I'm just gonna ask her, to talk about herself. So, like, how did you get into studying CAIS?
I actually got into the study of CAIS because I had this amazing biology teacher in high school, and his name was Mr. Dupre. And I credit all things to him, and that is the reason that I am so devoted to this disorder and why I'm just so in love with talking about it.
So CAIS, can you go into a little bit into some detail here on what CAIS is?
So if you look at the chart, you can kind of follow what's going on, but basically these individuals start with a bipotential gonad and follow the male XY genotype. But a mutation of the AR, also known as the androgen receptor gene, which is located on the X chromosome, results in the inability of the androgen to bind to its receptor. And so they transferred to the female pathway. So if you look at this chart too, you can see in the top right corner that there's a defective X chromosome and those mutations in the androgen receptor. And because of this individual's resistance to testosterone, they have this failure of masculinization, and in turn, estrogen takes over, and the individual develops female genitalia.
So how common is it? How should people be worried about this?
So 1 in every 20,000 people have this disorder, which is not like that uncommon if you think about it. At least in comparison to some of the other sexual disorders out there. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's something to worry too much about. It's not deadly or anything like that.
So what's the cause of this disorder? Is it genetic? Is it just is it a mutation? Is it something passed down from parents? And what are the symptoms?
This is caused by a mutation in the AR gene, which is the androgen receptor gene. And it's usually not discovered until puberty, mostly because when the individual is born, phenotypically, through the outside, they look like a female. So unless there's some indication otherwise, doctors usually won't do tests. However, if they, for some reason, have an indication, then they would discover that the individual has a Y chromosome. It's not curable in any way, so if the individual is to be born, there's nothing you can do to fix them. Not that they're messed up or anything, but yeah. And I have a chart that I'm going to show you of all the symptoms. Some notable ones are the absent uterus, the absent small fallopian tube, undescended testes, and infertility.
So is this related to the chromosomes? Is this based on, like you say, so they have an XY chromosome, correct? But they look like a female.
It is an X-linked recessive disorder, meaning, so it is chromosome related, and that means that the moms pass it down to her sons, or just the individuals with the XY gene. And so they can either have or not have the disorder.
So with this disorder, it can be a little confusing. So the individuals with this tend to live as male or female?
So typically they tend to live as female just because when they're born, usually the doctors say that the individual is female. So until they get to puberty, if they are not diagnosed at birth, then that's when they'd find out that they actually have the XY chromosome. But up until then, they're female, and it's kind of their choice to decide whether or not they want to live as male going forward, but usually since they've been raised as female, the individuals stay female.
Right. So, listeners, we're about to put a picture up of someone that has this, that identifies as a female. So they have an XY chromosome, but they look like a female, they identify as a female. So we're about to show this picture right here.
So if you look at this picture, you can obviously tell that this person looks like a female, which would be hard to tell from birth that, obviously they're gonna have that XY chromosome. So one of the most widely debated issues with this disorder is whether or not these individuals are male or female. And in my opinion, I would say that they're female, just because even though they have the XY chromosome or XY chromosomes, they go down that sex determination path of becoming a male. And then at some point when they don't, or there's that mutation in the AR gene, they kind of reverse in a way over to becoming female. So they don't have the uterus, fallopian tubes, etc. But they do start to develop some of the other female parts, and by puberty they do develop more female parts. And so I think that because they start to become females, that's what they really are. And also, if it isn't discovered at birth, then these individuals are usually raised as female.
I would rather argue that they're male because they have the XY chromosome, and on the inside they have male parts on the inside, such as the testes, and regardless on the outside, they may show the female parts on the outside, but on the inside they have testes and they're made to produce sperm, though they don't produce that because of their disorder. So in my opinion, just because they have the XY chromosome and they're set up to be a male and produce male sperm, then they should be a male. If you know anyone that has this, I hope maybe it can give you a better understanding and empathy for what they go through with their disorder. So again, I thank you, Corinne, for coming on, and to the viewer, thank you for listening, and I hope everyone has a great day.